Hi everyone, Jesse here with eTrailer. Today we'll be taking a look at and I'll show you how to install the BMW Companion sliding fifth wheel with Turnoverball kit on our 2024 Chevrolet Silverado 3500. As I said, this kit not only includes the amazing BMW Companion sliding fifth wheel, but it also comes with the ability to use the Turnoverball gooseneck system. This is one of my favorite gooseneck systems because if you're not towing with it, you can still store the ball in the back of the truck by flipping it upside down, dropping it in the hole, and that gives you entire use of your truck bed just as it came from the fact. As for the Companion itself, it's one of the highest regarded sliding fifth wheels on the market. So if you're someone who's planning on towing their fifth wheel trailer with a short bed truck like our neighbor today, this is a really good choice for you. And the sliding on it is very simple. You'll simply reach over your truck bed here, pull that handle, and this will slide forward. That way you can make your tight turns and you don't have to worry about cab clearance, making any contact with the trailer to the cab of your truck. And then once you're ready to hit the road, you'll just simply pull that handle back and it will lock back into place. And as for the jaws of the fifth wheel, you'll have 360 degrees of contact, and it's a very thick jaw system, so it's going to hold up to the test of time. And using that is a very simple process. Also, you just simply unpin it, pull your handle back, then you would back up to your trailer, and once the weight of the trailer pushes on the jaws, this handle will come closed, and you'll reinstall your pin and clip. This head itself will pivot back and forth with some strong polyurethane bushing, so that's going to prevent any chucking or porpoising. And I really like how versatile this is. You have quite a few adjustments to make it work with any truck and trailer setup. And this entire system itself just drops into your underbed gooseneck. So if you don't have a factory puck system, this is a good choice for you. As for the installation process, since we did have to install that underbed gooseneck, it is quite a project. You will have to get into some tight spaces, lift some heavy stuff up. So I wouldn't say it's a super easy installation, but you could get it done with a regular set of hand tools. If it's not something that you're looking to do yourself, maybe you don't have the time, the space, or the tools to do so, feel free to check out our dealer locator to find somebody local to you. They'll be happy to help you out. If you have any experience with the Companion itself and you want to share that with us, please feel free to leave a review or a comment. Otherwise, if you're looking to see how this gets installed, then just follow along and I'll walk you through. To start our installation, we'll have to do some measurements. The instructions will have it laid out depending on if you have a short bed or a long bed, what number you're looking for. But essentially, we're going to run our tape measure from the back edge of our bed to the measurement in the instructions. And then you also want to find center side to side. So I just measure from the wheel wells, find my center, and then I mark that. I always double and triple check that because we are drilling a 4-inch hole into our bed. So you want to be extra careful and get it right the first time. But once you find your measurement, punch it. And then I'm going to start out by drilling a small pilot hole. Now with our pilot hole drilled, we're going to step it up to our 4-inch hole saw. Now I'm going to file our sharp edges down, make it nice and smooth, and then I'll come through with a shop vac, clean up any metal shavings, and I'll also spray a coat of black spray paint on here just to protect it from rusting. So I'll get that started now. Now underneath our truck, you'll need to lower down your spare and take it off, get it out of your way. And we'll also be removing this heat shield. So on the back side, there will be two 13mm bolts to remove. Now we're going to lower our exhaust just to make more space to work. There will be one rubber hanger here and then two up there in front of our axle. You could use a pry bar to get these popped off, but helps to have this tool slip over. popped off. And also be sure to have something to support the exhaust, whether it's a floor jack or a strap like I'm using here. It turns out we didn't really need that strap to support our exhaust. It's supporting itself just fine, and now we can move it around and work around it. We have one more heat shield that's going to be in our way, is we're actually going to be mounting to some holes that are right up here under it. So it's just a series of 13mm bolts holding it up into place. They're all kind of in tight spots, so you'll need a wrench to get up in there and get them all removed. And that should just slide out and we'll set it aside. Now we're about ready to get our cross members up into place, but first we'll take, for our front cross member, we're going to install one of our brackets. So we'll just slip that over, line it up with our holes, take one of our bolts, slide it through, and then put a flange nut on that. Do the same thing on the other hole. And then for this one, before we lift it up into place, we will tighten and torque it down. So we'll tighten it down with a 24mm socket and wrench. When you're torquing these down, it's probably pretty nice to have a bench vise or something like that, but I found I'm able to do it on the ground like this. Now before we lift this into place, it's a good idea to just locate your threaded holes on top of your frame, make sure there's nothing else in the way. A lot of these trucks are set up differently underneath, so it really just depends. But right now, since we took that heat shield down, we have nothing else in our way. So this is our front cross member. This flat part here is going to rest on top of our frame. So we'll just kind of snake it through. Get the one side lined up and started. And get your other side in place so we can slip our other bracket on. So to get that front cross member up, I actually flipped it around with our bracket that we installed up above our fuel lines and our wiring here. It was just less space over there, so it made it easier to kind of slide it up. And then I'll just rest this end onto our exhaust here, and I'll slip our bracket up into place. This is why it helps to have this exhaust able to move around. We'll get it slid under our cross member and lift it up above our frame. Once you have it like that, you can just get your holes lined up and get your hardware started. For the rear cross member, we'll do the same thing, install one bracket, but we're going to leave the hardware loose, so don't tighten and torque it down. But then from there, similar concept, we're just going to slide it over the one side, get it up here. I actually rested our other bracket on the leaf spring just so I didn't have to muscle everything. Slide that into place. Line up your holes and install your hardware. Now for our center assembly, we will need to install our latch pin. This depends on if you have a short or a long bed. If you have a long bed, it would go on this end. Just kind of note where this triangular shape is. But with a short bed, we're going on this side. So just have to line this rod up with the hole. Slide it through, and then line up your mounting holes right there. We'll slip a carriage bolt through the bottom. Install the nut. Same thing with the other hole. And we can tighten that down with a 1/2-inch socket. Before we can lift our center section up, we'll get our plates in place on our cross members here. So just make room so you can get this slid in. Slide one of your bolts through. And I'll just leave a little bit of threads hanging out the edge, just enough to hold our plate up. And then I'll slide our cross member back to give us more space to get our center assembly in place. And I'll do the same thing with our front cross member. So we'll lift our center assembly into place. I already got one bolt slid through our hole. Slide the other one. It is kind of tricky because at this point we're not really lined up with our hole because I moved this cross member back, but you should be able to work around it and at least get your hardware started on one side, and then we can work on moving the whole assembly around, getting the rest of it hooked up. Now we'll get our front cross member lined up, and we're just going to hand tighten everything for now. So just get that lifted up into position, push our cross member back towards the center assembly, and get our bolts slid through. This front cross member was quite a tight fit on our setup, so what I did was got it close and then tapped our bolts through with a hammer, and now I'll get the nuts installed. Now with all the hardware loose, we're able to still move our cross members around so that we can line up with those holes on top of our frame, and then we'll thread on our bolts. Now that we have all the hardware hand tightened, we'll want some kind of lifting device. This here is just something that we have around the shop, but I've used jack stands with a jack handle and some ratchet straps, or you could use a cherry picker, just whatever you have. We want to lift it up, make sure it's centered with our hole that we drilled, and make sure it's square. Because anytime that this is crooked, that means your accessories that you mount in there will also be crooked. So just make sure everything looks nice and square, and then we can get ready to tighten everything down. Now I want to tighten everything down in a specific order as in the instructions. The first bolts we'll tighten down will be these 4 that are connecting our cross members to our center assembly. So we'll start with those. They're 24 millimeters or 15/16. You'll need a socket on one side and a wrench on the other side. Next, we'll tighten our cross member side brackets. It's a good idea to just take a look at everything, make sure these are square before we tighten them down, because this is what will change the angle of your main assembly here. And once again, these are 24 or 15/16. Now we'll tighten down our frame bolts. These are going to be 3/4. Now we'll torque everything down. I like to do it in that same order that we just tightened everything down in. And one tip for those frame rail bolts, I like to use this offset wrench just because it's a really tight spot. It's almost impossible to get anything else in there. So this will really help you get those torqued down. But other than that, all the other bolts are pretty simple to get to. Now for installing our handle, we'll just need to pull it out. You just simply pull out, turn it to lock it, and then we'll just use the carriage bolt and the nut. Make sure that you install it on this side of our bracket here, just because if you install it on the other side, it will interfere with your hardware and it won't lock all the way. Now we need to drill our holes for our safety cable loops. These safety cable loops will be going through these holes here, so we'll center punch it. I'll start out with a pilot hole. I'll drill a small pilot hole, Then we'll be stepping it up to 11/16. Now from the top, I just cleaned everything up and made sure that our loops will slide in and out pretty easily. Then I came through, just like when we cut out this hole, cleaned it up with a shop vac, and I spray painted it just to protect it. But we'll drop these down, and then we'll go install the rest of the pieces underneath. Now underneath, on each end of our U-bolts, we'll install one of these springs. The large side goes up, and we'll have to compress it just a bit to get our nuts started. Once you have all those installed by hand, we're going to tighten them down with a 15/16 socket. And what we want is this locking nut just to be flush with the bottom of our U-bolt. Now to get your fifth wheel base installed, make sure you pull that handle back, and then with the help of some friends, because this is quite heavy, get that lined up with your hole and make sure it drops down. And then what we want to check first is this little plastic piece. It's a spacer. It's supposed to be down in this groove. So what I'm doing now is loosening up this bolt. There's one in the front and there should be one in the back. We'll loosen those up. Then we can shift those spacers into our groove and tighten it back down. Now we'll torque our bolt down to the specification and the instructions, or it's actually written on our washer here. Now whenever we're getting our arms installed, that's when we need to get our measurements, because it really depends on your setup, where you're going to get it set up initially. Ours, with this toolbox behind me, we're trying to get it pushed as far to the back as we can. So to change that, these arms, you just flip them one way or the other. We have it in the farthest back position, but if you put this arm over here, that'll bring it towards the front. And then you have multiple holes for your height, so we put it right in the middle for now, and we'll see how that works, because you can always adjust that later. And then this clip here, this is honestly one of the hardest parts of getting this fifth wheel set up. It just needs to be about a ½ inch below your rubber boot, but I'd recommend bringing a flathead screwdriver or something, trying to spread that out, and then give it some taps with a hammer and it should slide on. Before we put our coupler on, BMW does supply some grease, and you definitely want to get that applied before you get it all installed. So just put a bit on top, spread it out. This will help keep this rubber last as long as it can. Now we'll pull our pin and clips out. Clips just simply pop out. Slide your pins out. You may need to lift the handle up. Now we can lift this into position, lift it by the rubber handles. That'll unlock everything. We'll take a step back. Get that to slide over. And drop it into position. You'll know it's fully engaged when these handles will go all the way down, and then we can reinstall our pins and clips. And as for our handle, we'll just pop our safety pin out, slide the handle through, and you can reinstall that pin just to hold everything in place. We'll take our Allen head bolts, slide these down the 2 holes, and thread on our nuts on the bottom. I did end up having to pull that pin back out just so I could get room for our nuts, but we'll tighten those down. This is a 7/32 Allen and a 9/16 socket. With our handle installed, that's going to do it for our look at and installation of the BMW Companion sliding fifth wheel hitch with turnover ball kit on our 2024 Chevrolet Silverado 3500.